Welcome back to Every Other Carl. I'm Carl, and we are halfway through demolition on our bathroom remodel project, and I just wanted to show you how to remove and replace a toilet. So I'm going to start it here, and then when we put the new toilet in, I'll show you how the install goes. So removing a toilet doesn't have to be messy if you do it right. So let's look at the steps. First thing you want to do is turn the water off. So down here on the side of the toilet, there's going to be a little knob. Make sure that that is righty-tighty turned off. And then you want to flush the toilet. So we're going to flush it. And that's going to get all the water out from the reservoir on top. And since the water is off, it's not going to refill itself. All right, now that the reservoir is empty, we're going to try to get all the water out from the basin of the toilet. You can take a pan of water or a bucket of water and just pour it in. And that'll force a flush. And you're going to end up with much less water than you had in there to begin with. And then whatever is left, all you have to do is suck that out with a shop vac or a wet dry vac. So we're going to do that now. All right, so the basin is empty. Now I'm going to take it out of the reservoir up top. Same thing. Use the shop vac and suck it out, and this water is pretty clean because it's coming right in from the tap. Now the toilet looks pretty disgusting, but that water isn't so dirty because it's straight out of the reservoir. And the reservoir itself is not going to be very dirty. So there's no water left in the basin, and the toilet is going to be pretty dry when we pick it up because no water is going to be forcing its way out of the toilet. So the next thing to do is just unbolt the toilet from the floor. There's a few ways that it can be connected to the floor, but usually there's two bolts coming out of the floor with nuts on them. We're just gonna pop the caps off those and take those nuts off. If the bolts are spinning as you try to take the nuts off, you're gonna have to hold the bolt with maybe needle nose pliers or something like that. But usually you could just take the nuts off, or if you have to, you can even cut those with a grinder. All right, we're gonna pop the cap off. And there's the nut. I'm gonna try to turn that off. Hopefully the bolt doesn't spin. Yeah, it's loose. And remember, most toilets usually sit on a wax ring. So you're gonna see some stuff coming out of here that looks like waste, but it is actually wax for the most part. So you don't have to be as grossed out as you might be thinking. All right, both of those came off pretty easy. So the next thing I wanna do is disconnect the water hose from the toilet. So we just unscrew it from here. If this part can't come off, you can also unscrew it from down here, but I think this will come off just fine. You might have a little bit of water in there. There will be some water in this hose, so it's a good idea to have a towel ready just to catch anything that drips. You might have to hold the tower on the inside as you turn this off. There we go. All right, now this toilet should be ready to come right out. There we go. Shouldn't be dripping too much. All right, so here's the wax ring. I'm gonna pop that out as best I can. And then this plastic piece is probably screwed into the ground. We're gonna see. So the ring comes out, and then this plastic flange is screwed into the ground. We're most likely gonna replace that when we put our new toilet in, but for now, we're just gonna get rid of the wax ring and fill this hole with a cup. So find a cup that fits, something that you can sacrifice. Solo cup will usually fit, but it's not the strongest, so if you can get something a little stronger, that'll seal it off. And that's gonna stay in there until we put the new toilet in. All right, we'll pick it up when we're ready to put the new toilet in. All right, it's been several days, and the bathroom has come a long way. Not entirely done yet, but we have new tile surround in the bath, new bathtub, starting to put the finished flooring in. That's LVP. In any case, if you want to see that whole build series, I'll link it below. But as far as the toilet install goes, we have a new flange, and installed it on top of the finished floor. That's something to keep in mind if you are replacing that flange. If you have the chance as in if you're remodeling the bathroom, it's good to put that flange on top of the finished floor. So right now I'm going to bring the toilet in and do the install. So here's our new toilet. It came with some hardware. These are bolts that slip into the flange. And one note, if you are putting a new flange in, most toilets need to be spaced 12 inches from the bolt holes to the back wall. So make sure that that flange is set so that when the bolts are slid into the slots, it's going to be 12 inches from the wall. Alright, so the first thing you want to do is take those bolts out. You're going to slide them in here. And just go in, turn, slide backwards. Same thing over here. Slide that in. And then you got these little like lock washers, and those push down over just to hold it in place. Make sure it doesn't fall side to side, or in my case, fall through the hole and down into the abyss. Next thing you want to do is install the new wax ring. Since we have the toilet free like this, you can take it, pop it right over the hole here. That should stay there. And it'll smush down when we actually sit it down into the flange. As we flip it over, we're going to sit it onto those two bolts. It'll set down in. All right, with that down in, we're gonna use the nuts that are provided with those bolts and just screw those in. And that'll make sure the toilet stays nice and secure to the floor. And then those will come with a little cap that should just pop right over. If the cap doesn't fit, you either have to take a hacksaw and cut down the size of that nut, or I'm sorry, that bolt, or some of the bolts come with snap-offs, so you can actually take the bolt with a pair of pliers, snap the top of it off. Anyway, I'll hacksaw that one down later. All right, so the next step is to connect the tank to the basin. For this one, they have this little donut ring here that goes around the base of the tank. Put that on while the tank is upside down. And we're going to flip it up and put these two bolts right down through the toilet basin. And those have little wing nuts. Just turn those on, tighten them down. And then just take the water hose and connect it to the bottom of the basin. Make sure this one is nice and tight. You can snug all of these up with a pair of offsets or just regular pliers. But mostly they are plastic, so you don't want to over tighten them. But this is notorious for leaking, so tighten this up. So this toilet came with all the internals already connected. If you're buying a new toilet, that's generally going to be the case. Otherwise, you have to buy these items separately. Flapper that closes the bottom of the basin. And this is the float that controls the water level inside. And this is your flusher handle that opens the flap and allows the water to go down and flush the toilet. All right, now for the exciting part. Turn the water on and see if it leaks. All right, so while that's filling up, I'm gonna go ahead and attach the toilet seat. All right, I don't love this seat, but it came with the toilet. So we will connect it for now and replace it later. These plastic screws. And there's a little slot at the top that you can use a flat screwdriver to hold, or if you don't feel like going back out to the garage, just borrow a butter knife. Close the flap. Hide the hardware. And I'll do the same on this side. All right, and then just put the lid on top of the tank. Test it out. All right, if you want to see the full renovation of this bathroom, I will leave that in the description below. Until next time, I'm every other Carl. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comment section. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see ya.